As we approach Mayor Mamdani's 100th day in office, some members of the business community are showing skepticism. In a letter to shareholders, JPMorgan Chase's CEO Jamie Dimon said that the city could see a large exodus of wealthy New Yorkers and major companies moving out of New York as the mayor continues to push for increasing taxes of wealthy New Yorkers as well as corporations. So when asked about this yesterday, Mayor Mamdani said that he will continue to look at new ways to increase jobs in the city of New York. Here was Mayor Mamdani.
And when we're talking about corporate America in our city, we're seeing commitments, whether it be from Bank of America or American Express or so many other large-scale companies, to not just the present of this city, but also the future of this city. And that's work that we will continue to do.
Joining me now to talk about this and more in the business community is Steve Fulop. He is the president of the Partnership for New York City. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I should say you're the CEO of the Partnership for New York City.
Okay.
So what is the business community? And obviously it's diverse, but you represent major corporations in New York. What's the general reaction to the mayor's first 100 days here?
Look, I think there are things that he's done well, and I think that he deserves credit, the way he's handled the relationship with the president. I think that, he's talked about pro-growth and housing. I think the broader sentiment around how to interact with the business community is still a lot to be determined. The tax conversation is obviously concerning because you're seeing a competitiveness disadvantage here in New York, and jobs will leave if this continues.
We've heard that before.
Yeah.
And, the one thing that keeps people coming to New York is obviously big companies like to be here because New York attracts top talent. There's access to capital here. You think that that is not enough to keep some of these big corporations with the threat of raising corporate taxes?
Look, I think that New York has a lot of really important factors that make it competitive, right? You have culture, arts, people want to be close to that, great restaurants, talent pool. But there is a reality that at some point there is a tripwire where people make decisions to leave elsewhere. When you raise taxes to what Mamdani is proposing, which would be competitive with New Jersey, it would be 100% greater than New Jersey when you layer in all the other New York City taxes. And at some point, somebody makes a decision saying, hey, it is best for my shareholders and best for my employees to be elsewhere. And that's the concern, and that's what we're just trying to make sure it doesn't happen.
So let's talk about what we are seeing in terms of office space and office rental, because the data that we're seeing for the first quarter is pretty positive in terms of a lot of demand for office space. Vacancies are lower. Is that a trend that you're concerned will change? I mean, I think that seems like a good indicator.
I think the first quarter was relatively strong on office space. I don't think it is an overnight change that happens. I think Jamie Dimon's language is right, that the exodus happens gradually over time. It's where people scale. There are certain industries that are growing and certain ones that aren't growing. We saw that in the job data last year. It was revised downward that you had a net loss over 2025. So there's a lot of reasons to be concerned. And there's some indicators that are positive that you mentioned. But the point is that it's fragile. And rhetoric and language and actions really matter at this moment in time.
Obviously, this is a decision that Governor Hochul has to make in order to raise taxes. What are your conversations that you're having with leadership in Albany regarding that?
She's been great. I mean, she recognizes the fact that business leaders have been concerned. She repeatedly says and points out that New York is a resilient place. She's very positive on the potential to grow the economy here. And we've been supportive of her. But there is a lot of headwinds because the political establishment is pushing in a different direction.
And speaking of the political establishment and led here in the city by the mayor, I mean, he does have a $5.4 billion budget gap to plug. What is the business community's recommendation on how he does that if it's not by raising revenue through taxes?
Look, I think there's some honest conversations that have to be had about the cost side of the budget, and that's not been addressed at all. You look at something like the City FEPS program, there's no other city in the country that has an entitlement program like that. Without the expansion, it's growing at 4% per month. It's just absolutely unsustainable. And I think being the mayor entails having hard decisions that you have to make, and we want to see those coming from Mayor Mamdani.
What are the conversations that the leaders of the business community, yourself at the helm of the partnership, are having with his administration?
Look, I think that he asks a lot of questions. I think he reaches out on issues. I think those are positives. I think sometimes his public rhetoric is concerning. I think the fact that there isn't an EDC head is concerning. So it's a mixed bag over the first 100 days. I think we still remain optimistic that the next 3.5 years will be a positive for the city, and we're eager to work together in order to find solutions.
Is there one main wish or one main solution that you hope to get from this administration?
Well, look, I just think being sensitive to the fact that being an executive is different than being a legislator, and being an activist is different than being in the mayor's position. And there's a reality that public-private partnerships are crucial to the success of New York.
Stephen Fulop, President and CEO of the Partnership for New York City. Really appreciate your insight. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.